Don't be a parent unless you're ready to lead. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Family Legacy series where we tell the truth about what it really takes to build, raise, and lead a family that doesn't just survive, but thrive. Let's cut the fluff. Parenting is not a trend, a temporary phase, or a romanticized lifestyle choice. It's not a casual weekend hobby you pick up when life slows down. It's not an emotional side hustle. Parenthood is the most powerful leadership position on earth, one that shapes not just the life of a child, but the direction of entire generations. And if you're not prepared to lead, to serve, and to sacrifice at the deepest level for another human being, then you are not ready to be a parent. Period. Too many people bring children into the world with no intention of sticking around emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or even physically. They think loving a toddler is enough. They think showing up at a few school concerts or paying the bills makes them involved. But showing up physically is not the same as being invested. You can be present in body and completely absent in soul. That's not parenting, that's proximity. And proximity without leadership is a breeding ground for confusion, neglect, and long-term emotional harm. To drive this point home, let me give you a metaphor. Imagine bringing home a puppy. You adore it when it's little. You play with it, feed it, even take it for walks. But as it grows and becomes more demanding, needing exercise, discipline, training, and companionship, you get tired. You lose interest. One day, you toss it in the backyard and say, "You're on your own now." If this happened in real life, you'd be charged with animal cruelty. But this is exactly how many parents treat their children, especially once they hit adulthood. They praise them when they're cute and manageable. But when the emotional needs grow up with them, the support disappears. Let me be crystal clear. If you wouldn't do this to a dog, you shouldn't do it to a human being. And yet, it happens all the time, especially through one of the most damaging phrases a parent can say, "You're an adult now. Figure it out." That line has broken more spirits than we can count. Because what it really means is, I don't have the capacity to keep caring. You're on your own. That's not empowerment. That's abandonment dressed up as boundaries. The reality is this: your job as a parent doesn't end when your child turns 18. It doesn't end when they move out. It doesn't end when they have kids of their own. It ends when you leave this earth. Until then, your responsibility is to remain available as a mentor, a guide, a wise elder, and a source of grounding in a world that's already unsteady. Now let's get into the truth of the matter. Family is not just a concept. It is the original nervous system for a human life. Every belief, reflex, trauma, and identity structure a child carries is first installed through the family. When a parent is passive, emotionally unavailable, narcissistic, or distracted, they aren't just damaging a relationship, they're damaging that child's internal compass. They're making it harder for them to feel safe, grounded, and stable in the world. That lack of safety shows up later as anxiety, addiction, perfectionism, avoidance, codependency, depression, all rooted in the original rupture, abandonment of leadership in the home. When a child doesn't feel seen, heard, valued, or consistently supported, they internalize that silence as evidence that they are unworthy of love. That core wound becomes the lens through which they interpret everything from romantic relationships to work performance to self-worth. Let's talk again about the phrase, "You're 30 now, figure it out." I don't care how grown your child is. If they're reaching out to you, trying to understand their pain, trying to make sense of their story, or asking for emotional support, and your response is to mock them or push them away, you have failed the spiritual assignment of parenthood. Because parenting is not about control. It's about stewardship. You don't own your child, but you are responsible for how you shape them. And no soul ever asked to be born. You chose to bring them here. That means the job of protection and provision in emotional, intellectual, and spiritual terms is on you. Let's be honest. Too many parents were not ready. They had kids because they felt pressure. They thought it would fix a marriage. They thought it would make them feel loved. Or they just didn't think about it at all. And what we get from that is a whole generation of adults raised by wounded, tired, unprepared people who passed on their pain instead of healing it. Saying, "I did my best," only works if you actually did the work. If you didn't study parenting, if you didn't confront your own triggers, if you didn't evolve as your children grew, then you didn't do your best, you did what was easiest. That's not parenting. That's passing the torch of dysfunction. So what does it mean to be an all-star parent? It means you are a full-time leader. You're not phoning it in. You're not hoping school, screens, or society does the work for you. You are actively studying your child, understanding their personality, encouraging their gifts, correcting their character, teaching them how to think, not just what to think. You are creating an environment where they can both fail and rise, fall apart and rebuild, speak up and be heard. It means you apologize when you get it wrong. You don't blame the child for your limitations. You don't weaponize your sacrifices. You don't demand emotional repayment for simply doing the job you signed up for. And if your child outgrows you in knowledge, wisdom, success, or spiritual understanding, you don't tear them down out of ego. You celebrate it. Because that means you did something right. Being an all-star parent means you study what the world is becoming, not just what it was. You don't raise your kids for a world that no longer exists. You prepare them for rapid change. You teach them adaptability, resilience, integrity, technological fluency, and spiritual grounding. You teach them how to think, not what to memorize. You train them to discern truth in a world full of noise. You model emotional intelligence. You model boundaries. You model joy. And you make sacrifices, real ones. You move cities for better schools. You take jobs you don't love so they can get the tools they need. You invest in their passions not because you want control, but because you want to amplify what's already within them. You pay attention to who your child actually is, not who you wish they were. And when you see that spark of genius, you fan the flames. And let me say this too, being unprepared is not a neutral position. It's not just a disadvantage, it's a danger. An unequipped parent isn't just ineffective, they're harmful. Because children can't raise themselves. And in the absence of true leadership, they look for it elsewhere, in peers, partners, influencers, and ideologies that might not serve them. You want to know how kids fall into cults, gangs, abusive relationships, or online extremism? It's not just the world being scary. It's the absence of strong, values-driven leadership at home. So I'm going to say the hard truth. Don't be a parent unless you are ready to lead, unless you are ready to be the safety net, the role model, the mirror, the wall, the one who is unshakable, the one who says, I will learn whatever I need to learn to raise you well. Because children aren't just gifts, they're assignments. And how you show up for them will ripple through time. You may not have had all-star parents yourself, but that doesn't mean you can't become one. The cycle can stop with you. But it won't happen through wishful thinking. It happens through responsibility, through strategy, through self-awareness, through leadership. If you can't handle that, if you're not ready to be all in, don't bring a child into this world and then check out when it gets hard. They didn't ask to be born, but you can choose what kind of life they inherit. That's what it means to parent with legacy. That's what it means to lead. And that's the message. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start. The black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.